And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you. Aquaba. Welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Rights Report here on LIB Radio, LIB TV here on LivingInTheBlack.com. My name is Keedy Wado, aka the Conscious Roster. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come at you from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you, and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Tuesday. It is the 8th day of April, 2025 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place. You're on LIB Radio, LIB TV here on LivingInBlack.com. And we are live and direct. And it was a little while getting the show on today. Actually, what happened was last night, as I was going to bed, my cell phone battery ran down and I plugged it in and it actually shut down, and so my alarm did not go off this morning. So here I am just enjoying all this extra. Boy, I'm sure alert and aware before the alarm clock goes off, and ended up overstaying my stay in the bed. But life is good. Sometimes you have to enjoy these serendipitous moments like that, just like that. So here's what I got to do. Okay, I got that up and running, and let me give you the program for today. Today, we're going to be accessing the language of cancer prevention and reversal. Today on LIBradio.com, as we continue to expand our understanding of the complexity of the cancer pandemic, as we continue to expand our understanding of the complexity of the cancer pandemic that is plaguing the nation, it is important that we raise our scientific literacy up to the level to where we comprehend the many key concepts that have created the crisis. Today, we go through an extensive glossary, a collection of words, terms that needs to be understood to understand the big story. Today, we go through an extensive glossary in order to raise our awareness, comprehension, and mastery over the many variables involved in cancer formation, prevention, appropriate treatment, and reversal of the diagnosis. So that is what is on the table for today. I'm going to be sharing a glossary from the upcoming book. The book is entitled A Year Against Cancer. I think I created a new subtitle. Let me see. You let me know. The first subtitle is With Living Superfood Solutions. And the second subtitle, I think I have that up on here, is I'm considering using a subtitle, Combating Society's Most Frightening Diagnosis. So you, the listening audience, you let me know. Drop me an email, Keedy, Keidi, at chefkeedy.com, or type in the browser or in the comments section, should I use the subtitle, A Year Against Cancer with Living Superfood Solutions, which was the title of a recent book that I put out. So that was why I considered not using the title of a book as a subtitle for another book to follow like 3-4 books later. Or A Year Against Cancer, Combating Society's Most Frightening Diagnosis. I like them both, to be honest. So Here's where we are. Let's go into this glossary. Before we go into the glossary, if you don't mind, I pulled up a series of quotations and I wanted to share dealing with this subject of scientific literacy and why, as a society, we really need to take this thing on. So I have 5 quotes, one of which I shared for today's promotion. Here are 5 quotations related to scientific literacy, each with its respective citation. The first one, from the American Association for the Advancement of Science, they wrote, and I quote, "Scientific literacy is the knowledge and understanding of scientific concepts and processes required for personal decision making, participation in civic and cultural affairs, and economic productivity." And I'm sure all of you educators, you teachers, you authors, writers, you masters who are doing your best to raise the status of the larger community, you understand completely what that quotation had to say. Let me repeat it because I think that's very important. Scientific literacy is the knowledge and understanding of scientific concepts and processes required for personal decision making, participation in civic and cultural affairs, and economic productivity. That quote from the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Quote number 2 of 5. This from the National Research Council. Scientific literacy is not just about knowing facts. It's about understanding how science works, how to evaluate evidence, and how to think critically. From the National Research Council. Going forward, and I did find another one that I'm going to share here. It'll be number 6, but let me just get through these first, and then I'll share that 6th one. Bear with me. This is well worth waiting for. I think. Accessing the language. Why am I having a hard time finding this? I must have put it elsewhere other than where I think I put it. Oh, I put it under images. I have a folder called images, and if it's not there, then I'll find it elsewhere. Here we go. This third quote I want to share. There it is. A little confusing today. Bear with me. I'm doing the best I can. The third quote is from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. A scientifically literate person is able to use scientific knowledge and ways of thinking for individual and social decisions and to communicate about science-related issues. That from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The next quote, scientific literacy is essential for a democratic society to make informed decisions about issues that affect the well-being of its citizens. That from Project 2061. And the last quotation here, scientific literacy involves understanding the nature of science, its methods, and its role in society. That from the National Science Teachers Association. And I have one other quote that I actually used in my promo graphic that I sent out for today. This from Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said, and I quote, he wrote, and I quote, scientific literacy is an intellectual vaccine against the claims of charlatans who would exploit ignorance. I like that quote. Let me save that image to my hard drive, and I'll be using that one as I'm putting together conversations, PowerPoint conversations related to this subject, A Year Against Cancer, So Michael deGrasse Tyson, good quote. And save that. So let's go into this glossary. Please stick with the conversation. It gets a little technical, but by the latter part of this conversation, I assure you, you will be very proud of the way that your comprehension is expanded. And I will also put on the table, if you do this the way I intend to present it, you will be stronger, able to prevent and or deal with this plague, this pandemic called cancer, where now 2 out of every 5 people, that's 40%, slightly over 40% of U.S. population, will be expected to be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Over 40%. That means out of every 10 people, 4. That's unacceptable. That's an unacceptable risk. And it's supposed to be 5 out of 10 in our children's generation. So let's go to this glossary from the book, A Year Against Cancer. I have them in alphabetical order. The first one begins with a number, 5 alpha reductase inhibitors. 5 alpha reductase inhibitors are a group of medications with anti-androgenic activity used in benign prostate hyperplasia, prostate cancer, male pattern baldness, and hormone replacement therapy, male to female, for transgendered women. These drugs decrease the levels of available 5A reductase, 5 alpha reductase, thus reducing the product of its enzymatic reaction. 5 alpha reductase inhibitors are clinically used in treatment of conditions that are exacerbated by dihydrotestosterone. The use of anti-androgenic drugs is often referred to as, quote, chemical castration. So right off the bat, brother, with the very first word of this extensive glossary, you understand now why it's necessary we understand what these drug names mean? Alpha reductase inhibitors. It's like alpha male. The alpha male is considered to be the strong man, the leader of the pack. Well, this one is 5 alpha reductase, reducing ACE in enzyme. 5 alpha reductase inhibitors. Chemical castration. Number 2 in our glossary, adoptive cell therapy. This type of immunotherapy uses the patient's own T cells, a type of immune cell, to help the body fight diseases such as cancer. In cancer therapy, T cells are taken from the patient's blood or tumor tissue and treated in the laboratory with substances to better target the patient's cancer cells and kill them. Large numbers of the treated T cells are then grown in the laboratory and given back to the patient to help the immune system fight the cancer. Types of adoptive cell therapy include chimeric antigen receptor T cell, CAR T cell therapy, and tumor infiltrating lymphocyte, TIL therapy. It is also called cellular adoptive immunotherapy, T cell transfer, and T cell transfer therapy. So that's adoptive cell therapy. The key thing about it is this is being described from the position of the medical pharmaceutical drug industries towards therapies for which they will charge your doggone eyes out. Boy, sometimes I wish I did, cuz they will charge your eyeballs out. They really will. And here's the thing. Your body does this naturally. When your body's functioning correctly. You have a diagnosis of cancer because you have disrupted through environmental stressors, your body's natural process of doing adoptive cell therapy. So now you need others to do it in a test tube when you're supposed to be doing it in vivo, in your own body. This was the subject of the book I recently published, of which a few of you have seen the book, have said, this is great, this is for me. But most of you just have ignored the book called The Stem Cell Revolution. If you hadn't ignored the book, The Stem Cell Revolution would allow you the process of turning this back on, which should prevent cancer in the first place. But if it has been coming, then you don't need to go to adoptive cell therapy and pay all that money to turn your body back on. Number 3 on this list, agar, A-G-A-R. Agar is a gelatinous substance from red algae used in biology for growing microorganisms and a solidifying agent in culture medium, agar. Number 4 on this list, allelochemicals, or allelopathy, allelochemicals / allelopathy. This branch of research stems from a broad base of plant-formed chemicals that form a basis for the plant protecting itself in its natural environment. Many allelochemicals have been shown to have similar therapeutic benefits when used as herbal, leaf, or root extracts that exude a protective factor when used clinically. As well, the bioherbicide development of allelochemicals is offering a more natural advantage in contrast to widely used petrochemical pesticides, which have demonstrated a whole range of toxic pathological effects on the health of humans and animal species. Allelochemicals, therefore, are our friends. Reminds me of this often repeated statement around here. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. And we do believe that wholeheartedly. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. Anybody in the house today? You hanging out with us? If you're in the house, we'd love to hear from you. Let me just take a minute here and double check, because I don't want to ever ignore you, the listening audience, because you are such a very important component of everything we do here. Today we are talking about accessing the language of cancer prevention and reversal. I hope you find this to be informative, inspiring, and exciting. I get excited about this information, so I would love to hear from you today. If you're in the chat, just drop a couple of words, just say hello. If you hit the like button, that lets the algorithms know that you appreciate what you're listening to. Let's go forward with our extensive glossary. This opens up the book. We're still under A's. Amino-oxyacetic acid. Amino-oxyacetic acid, AOA, is a compound that inhibits 4-aminobutyrate aminotransferase, GABA-T, activity, increasing GABA, GABA levels in tissues. It has various biological and clinical applications. So it inhibits enzymatic activity, GABA-T, which has multiple benefits or activities, biological and clinical applications. The next term, anaerobic. Anaerobic refers to processes or organisms that can survive or function in the absence of oxygen, such as fermentation in yeast or certain bacterial activities. Anaerobic is a key understanding in the formation of cancer. This is the research work of the Nobel Prize winning Dr. Otto Warburg. I included a statement on anaerobic activity and the mutation of cells from aerobic oxygen dependent to anaerobic fermentation dependent for energy creation. I included that in the book a year. No, in the book was called Living Super in Paradise under chapter 4, The Logic of Chronic Diseases. I talked about this is at the root of cancer formation. If we understand this, this gives us a very simple, easily accessible methodology for preventing cancer, people. We're up to anaplerotic source. Anaplerotic sources are substances that replenish metabolic intermediates like oxaloacetate, the citric acid cycle, ensuring its continuous function in energy production and biosynthesis. This is the language of cellular biology. Once you are into this for some time, you start to read, you start to hear all of this in real time where it fits in. So stick with me, everybody. It's well worth it. We're still under A's, androgens. These are a class of male hormones that are chemical messengers responsible for the development and maintenance of masculine gender characteristics. Testosterone and dihydrotestosterone, DHT, are the most abundant androgens in men. Almost all testosterone is produced in the testicles. A small amount is produced by the adrenal glands. In some cases, prostate cancer cells can also produce testosterone. Next, aneuploidy. This one woke me up early in the morning, and this term aneuploidy just kept circulating in my mind, trying to remember why I had put it in the book. Aneuploidy. This is a condition where a cell has an abnormal number of chromosomes, either missing or having an extra chromosome. It is commonly results in genetic disorders like Down syndrome and can occur due to errors in cell division, particularly during meiosis. Also, aneuploidy does come into play with the environmental stressors that cause genetic mutations in children who some percentage of them will go on to develop cancers. There's a chapter in the book which talked about these genetic mutations in children that lead to cancer formation. This was largely the subject of yesterday's broadcast here on LIB Radio, where we did use the term aneuploidy yesterday. Next, apoptosis, one of our favorite words. The programmed and controlled cell death associated with the aging of the cell reaching the Hayflick limit. This system often fails in cancer cells. Apoptosis is our friend. Next, ATP citrate lyase, ACL. ATP citrate lyase is an enzyme that converts citrate and ATP into oxaloacetate, acetyl-CoA, and ADP, crucial for fatty acid synthesis and energy metabolism. I'm going to repeat that one because that's so very important, and that was a little bit of language threw me off briefly. I'll repeat it with more accuracy. ATP citrate lyase, ACL. ATP citrate lyase, ACL, is an enzyme that converts citrate and ATP into oxaloacetate, acetyl-CoA, and ADP, crucial for fatty acid synthesis and energy metabolism. Yes, this is a crucial component of our energy formation process, ATP. Next, we're into B, bioenergetics. Bioenergetics is the study of energy transformation and flow within living organisms, focusing on metabolic processes, ATP production, and the regulation of energy use. And in my book, Living Superfood Life, where I talked about the 18 functioning systems within our body, One of the 18 systems is the bioenergetic system, the study of energy transformation and flow within living organisms. B. Burkitt's lymphoma. Burkitt's lymphoma is a highly aggressive form of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, NHL, that primarily affects B lymphocytes, which are a type of white blood cell involved in the immune system. Burkitt's lymphoma is a cancer of the blood system. That's a blood cancer. Under C, carcinogen, a substance or chemical that can cause cancer in living tissue. Chromatin. This is a complex of DNA and proteins that forms chromosomes within the nucleus of eukaryotic cells. Those are oxygen-dependent cells. Nuclear DNA, meaning not radioactive nuclear, but nucleus of the cell, nuclear DNA does not appear in free linear strands. It is highly condensed and wrapped around nuclear proteins in order to fit inside the nucleus. The function of chromatin is to efficiently package DNA into a small volume to fit into the nucleus of a cell and protect the DNA structure and sequence. Packaging DNA into chromatin allows for mitosis and meiosis, prevents chromosome breakage, and controls gene expression and DNA replication. So this substance called chromatin is very, very important for the function of life, for the function of DNA and chromosomes and gene expression. Chromatography, that's it. Chromatography is a laboratory technique used to separate mixtures of compounds based on their different interactions with a stationary phase and a mobile phase. Chromatography, that's it. Cytosol, we're still under C's. Cytosol is the liquid component of the cytoplasm containing dissolved proteins, enzymes, and other molecules, and is the site of many cellular metabolic processes. And we're talking about cytoplasm is the liquid base inside each cell, the cytoplasm. Cell has a lot of different components in it, which float in the cytoplasm. So cytosol is the liquid component of the cytoplasm. And the liquid contains these other undissolved proteins, enzymes, and other molecules. Cytotoxic. Most cancer chemotherapies have been shown to be harmful to cell tissues not involved with cancer mutation. Cyto translates to cell, and toxic means poisonous. Cytotoxic. Next, cytotoxic T cells. These are T cells that kill infected cells and cancer cells by releasing toxic chemicals, also known as CD8 plus cells, because of a protein that they express on their cell surface and as killer cells. Cytotoxic T cells are a type of lymphocyte. So we're talking about little warriors that go through our blood and take out those things that are detrimental or potentially detrimental to our health. We're up to D. Dichloroacetate, DCA. Dichloroacetate is a compound that activates pyruvate dehydrogenase, promoting the conversion of pyruvate to acetyl-CoA, and is studied for potential therapeutic uses in cancer and mitochondrial disorders. Mitochondria is, again, the little engine inside of each cell which generates energy. So a potential therapeutic use, dichloroacetate therapeutic use in cancer and mitochondrial disorders, and it activates pyruvate dehydrogenase. So this is most likely not necessary for chemistry to replicate this. Where does dihydrochlorinate come from? I think it comes from, it's manufactured by the body. Let me just real quickly confirm that. And I may add that to the description. Where does dihydrochlorinate come from naturally? Because if it does come from the body naturally, then it's very key and critical that we understand this process. Where does it come from naturally? Dihydroacetate, DCA, is a xenobiotic, naturally formed as a byproduct of water chlorination and be found in certain seaweeds like Asparagopsis taxiformis and the mushroom Russian nigricans. So has been shown to occur in nature in at least one seaweed, Asparagopsis taxiformis. So it does occur in nature, but it is a trace product of the chlorination of drinking water and is produced by the metabolism of various chlorine-containing drugs or chemicals. So I'm not a fan of chlorination of drinking water, although I do acknowledge that the chlorination of drinking water does suppress bacterial growth in drinking water. As long as that chlorination level is kept at an absolute minimum, that's fine, but I'm not a big fan of that process. But we understand, though, this is naturally created by seaweeds, and I do advocate people consume seaweeds for your optimal health. So there we go. Let me just add this one sentence to this definition of dichloroacetate. Just going to add one sentence and go on with the rest of the glossary. Okay, next is dysregulation, a very, very, very important word that I've just began using in the last few months. Dysregulation in biology refers to the impairment or abnormal functioning of regulatory processes, leading to disrupted homeostasis and often resulting in disease states. I came across this term dysregulation in talking about fat and why people are gaining so much weight, obese, etc. And this term it came across in the phrase dysregulation of lipid metabolism. Dysregulation of lipid metabolism basically comes down to not just a matter of people getting fat. Dysregulation means the ordered system comes unordered, it gets out of control. And when we're talking about lipid metabolism, we're also talking about the formation of LDL, low density lipoprotein, high density lipoprotein. We're talking about the formation of triglycerides, the formation of fat cells. This is a very important part of our body, the formation of collagen. If we have dysregulation of lipid metabolism, then your collagen formation comes unglued, and collagen is the most abundant protein in the body. Dysregulation. Next, we're up to the E's, embryonic isoform. An embryonic isoform is a specific protein variant expressed during embryonic development, often differing from adult isoforms in structure and function, and playing crucial roles in early development. Embryonic isoform. An isoform, we're talking about the structure of protein. Iso meaning the protein formation, and form meaning structure. Next, endocytosis. This is the uptake of material through the cell plasma membrane that is involved in the process of phagocytosis. See description below for phagocytosis. Well, let me just go ahead and see that description right now since it's attached to endocytosis. Phagocytosis, let me go to PHA. Phagocytosis. This is the engulfing of microorganisms or other cells, cellular debris, lipid encapsulated, or other foreign particles by phagocytes. Phagocytes are white blood cells that consume, destroy, and eliminate unwanted cellular particles and waste. This is very, very important, people. Phagocytes are white blood cells that consume, destroy, or eliminate unwanted cellular particles and waste. So that endophagosis, let me go back to that part, that was under E, is a part of the body. Endocytosis is a part of body cleaning up the garbage, cleaning up debris. The uptake of material through the cell plasma membrane that is involved in the process of phagocytosis. Next, endometrium. The endometrium is the innermost layer of the uterus, consisting of a single layer of columnar epithelium and a stroma rich in connective tissue and blood vessels. It plays a crucial role in the menstrual cycle and pregnancy by preparing an optimal environment for embryo implantation and supporting fetal development. And of course, once out of homeostasis and chronic disorder, the endometrium becomes a source of tumor formation, cyst formation. You have fibroid tumors, ovarian cysts is another part. This is from the ovary, but they're all part of the essential reproductive structure, as well as ovarian cancer or endometrial cancer. Endosomes. Endosomes provide an environment for material to be sorted before it reaches the degradative lysosome. In cell biology, an endosome is a membrane-bound compartment inside eukaryotic cells. It is a compartment of the endocytic membrane transport pathway originating from the trans-Golgi membrane. Molecules or ligands, which are protein strands, internalized from the plasma membrane, can follow this pathway all the way to lysosomes for degradation, or they can be recycled back to the plasma membrane. So this endosomes system, like lysosomes and a number of these other somes, which are substructures, organelles inside the cell, this is a part of their body cleaning up the garbage, taking out the garbage, or recycling the garbage. Epigenetics. Epigenetics is the study of heritable changes in gene expression that do not involve alterations to the DNA sequence, such as DNA methylation and histone modification. Yes, inheritable changes, epigenetic changes, do not alter the structure of DNA, but they do influence its methylation, its expression. Extracellular matrix. The extracellular matrix, ECM, is a network of proteins and carbohydrates outside cells, providing structural support, facilitating cell communication, and influencing cell behavior. That's the extracellular matrix. Fibroblasts, we're up to F. Fibroblasts are cells in connective tissue that produce collagen, elastin, and other extracellular matrix components, playing a key role in wound healing and tissue repair. Fibroblasts. And blasts, anytime you find the word blast, you could be glioblasts. You have different blasts. Every time you find the word blast, it means it's a type of cell. And it's usually used as a suffix. So that's what blast means, a type of cell. Flavonoids, any of a large group of water-soluble antioxidant compounds, including the anthocyanins, red or blue plant and insect pigments, flavonols, flavones, and isoflavonoids, often occurring as glycosides, which are sugar-yielding organic compounds, in plants, and consisting of two aromatic rings linked by a carbon bridge that often forms a heterocyclic ring. Flavonoids are found in tea, red wine, and a variety of vegetables and fruits. So yes, flavonoids are your friends. And not just found in red wine, they're actually found in the purple pigmentation of dark colored grapes. It's also known as, or a well-known flavonoid is resveratrol, very powerful antioxidant substance. Gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is a metabolic pathway that converts non-carbohydrate precursors such as lactate and amino acids into glucose, primarily in the liver and kidneys. So gluconeogenesis is how the body processes non-carbohydrates such as fats and protein-based amino acids, converts them into sugar-like molecules, glucose, that is used for energy in the mitochondria producing ATP. Next, glutamate oxaloacetate transaminases. I'll repeat that. Glutamate oxaloacetate transaminases. That's a good one. Glutamate oxaloacetate transaminases, GOT, are enzymes that catalyze the transfer of an amino group between glutamate and oxaloacetate, producing alpha ketoglutarate and aspartate. Now, what does that do? I don't know. Producing what does, let me find out what that does. And maybe I can add that to the definition. What is the function of alpha ketoglutarate and aspartate? And its generated response, alpha ketoglutarate, AKG, is a key Krebs cycle intermediate crucial for amino acid and carbohydrate metabolism, while aspartate participates in transamination reactions, including the conversion to oxaloacetate, and is involved in the urea cycle and gluconeogenesis. So I'm going to put that in there. AKG is a Krebs cycle intermediate. Krebs cycle is really about energy formation. That's the Krebs cycle. It has to do with function of the mitochondria. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in here since it's a rather short definition. And bear with me. Make sure it's comprehensible. And there we go. I'm not going to read that again. It's confusing. It's not that it's confusing. The language is real hard, real heavy. Next is glutaminase. You recognize the suffix mean this is an enzyme. Glutaminase is an enzyme that catalyzes the conversion of glutamine to glutamate and ammonia, playing a crucial role in nitrogen metabolism and amino acid synthesis. And again, nitrogen is the most abundant component of the air we breathe. Only 20% of the air is oxygen. 80% of the air is nitrogen. So there must be a metabolism process for handling this nitrogen, and this is glutaminase. Next word, glutamine, is a conditionally essential amino acid involved in protein synthesis, nitrogen transport, and energy metabolism. And it plays a key role in cellular functions and immune health. Glutamine. Next, glycine biosynthetic pathways. Glycine biosynthetic pathways convert serine and other precursors into glycine, an amino acid essential for protein synthesis, collagen formation, and metabolic processes. So, an essential function of our body's molecular production system. Glycolysis. Glycolysis is a metabolic pathway that converts glucose, excuse me. Glycolysis is a metabolic pathway that converts glucose into pyruvate, producing energy in the form of ATP and NADH occurring in the cytoplasm of cells. So it's part of our energy formation process. Glycolytic flux. Glycolytic flux is the rate at which glucose is converted to pyruvate through glycolysis, reflecting the metabolic activity and energy production in cells. Glycolytic flux. Next, HeLa cells. The first continuously cultured cells, a human cervical cancer strain taken from a woman named Henrietta Lacks and named after her, HeLa cells. And HeLa cells were used throughout medical industry processes for many, many years, including her cancer cells were used as culture medium in vaccine production. Hexokinase. Hexokinase is an enzyme that catalyzes the phosphorylation of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, the first step in glycolysis, crucial for cellular energy metabolism. Hexokinase. And many of these enzymes, you have 3 different types of enzymes. If I can remember all 3, you have your metabolic enzymes, of which hexokinase would be considered a metabolic enzyme. You also have digestive enzymes, and you have plant-based enzymes. The digestive enzymes and the plant-based enzymes work together with optimized nutrition. This is why raw food diets heal so fast, because that's where we have all 3 enzymes working in the same direction on the same team. Metabolic enzymes, food-based enzymes, and digestive enzymes. We're up to I, intermediate metabolites. Intermediate metabolites are compounds like lactate, glutamate, fumarate, and succinate that are formed and consumed during metabolic pathways, serving as essential links between different biochemical processes in cells. And I'm not going to go too deeper into that one for right now, because I'd have to break down what each one of these do. But essentially, the ATE suffix means that is a component of energy production. So we have lactate, that's a form of sugar. Glutamate is a form of sugar. Fumarate, I'm assuming all of these. And succinate, that word looks like a sugar word. These are formed and consumed during metabolic pathways. This is where energy comes from. These are the fuel for the fire. Intermediate polarity. Intermediate polarity refers to the balance between hydrophilic and hydrophobic properties in molecules, crucial for their function in biological processes and interactions. Hydrophilic means it works with water. Hydrophobic means it works not with water. Mainly that deals with fat, insoluble fats in molecules, crucial for their function in biological processes and interactions. Understanding the body is 70%, and when it's healthy, 70% water. So therefore, hydrophilic and hydrophobic activities are very important. This is called intermediate polarity, polarized towards water or against water. The next isozymes. Isozymes are different forms of the same enzyme encoded by different genes that catalyze the same reaction but may vary in structure, function, and tissue distribution. Isozymes. Next, lactate dehydrogenase. Lactate dehydrogenase, LDH. Lactodehydrogenase, LDH, is an enzyme that converts pyruvate to lactate, playing a key role in anaerobic glycolysis and energy production in cells. Again, anaerobic glycolysis is energy creation without the presence of oxygen. This is a key process, but this is also starts to show the deviation of cell mutation from oxygen-based aerobic to anaerobic, non-oxygen-based, the difference between eukaryotic and prokaryotic cellular formation, and this can be a hallmark towards the development toward cancer. Let me just real quickly look up this real quickly. I have a search engine open in the background, and here let me just create a new window because it kept searching in Google, and I don't like Google search. What is the function? What is the relationship? What is the relationship between lactate dehydrogenase, LDH, and cancer mutation? I think that this is going to be important. LDH and cancer mutations. Lactate dehydrogenase is involved in the reprogrammed metabolism of cancer cells. I talked about mutated, which is distinct from non-transformed cells and contributes to their infinite proliferation, metastasis, which is cancer spreading, and resistance to cell death. Elevated glycolysis, a hallmark of cancer metabolism, depends on dysregulated metabolic enzymes, including LDH. LDH converts pyruvate to lactate, and its aberrant expression and activation have been closely linked to various cancers, indicating its role in cancer progression. Now, that was a very, very important description to it. Because this was a short description in my original glossary, I'm going to add what I just found and what I just shared to this description. I hope you don't mind. This is good work, people. And I know you do appreciate it. Let me paste that in. I got to clean up just a little bit of that. And boom. That is very important. I'm going to reread that whole thing. That's very important, people. Lactate dehydrogenase, LDH. Lactate dehydrogenase is an enzyme that converts pyruvate to lactate, playing a key role in anaerobic glycolysis and energy production in cells. LDH is involved in the reprogrammed metabolism of cancer cells, which is distinct from the non-transformed cells and contributes to their infinite proliferation, a hallmark of cancer metabolism. Depending on dysregulated metabolic enzymes, including LDH. LDH converts pyruvate to lactate, and its aberrant expression and activation have been closely linked to various cancers. And I can just eliminate part of that sentence because it's repetitive, and boom, there we go. See, this is why reading the glossary is so very important. We come to levels of understanding that just keep expanding. And as we are able to do this, we become intellectual giants. We're overcoming the very theme of what today's program is that overcoming scientific illiteracy. I know you understand. I hope you understand. I hope you love what we're doing today. We are live today here on Facebook. We're broadcasting as we do daily on Rumble. That's our main broadcast channel. We're on my secondary YouTube page, which I think I'm out of the doghouse with them for right now. I was like, it comes and it goes. They do what they do. And I would just love it if our listening audience would engage with us a little bit. Just a word or two. Can you say hello? Can you drop? I do see Tunk from Snake Creek is in the house. Unk Uja Seneb. Tunk from Snake Creek. Great to have you in the house. Thank you for signifying today. It's very important. It's very important to me. And this glossary, this may be one of the most important shows I've done in a long time. If we are to get over these issues related to cancer, then we're going to do this work. So wherever you're listening, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, wherever you are, hit the like button. As we are today talking about accessing the language of cancer prevention and reversal. We must access this language in total comprehension. I am scientific literate. Let me hear you say that. Say it proudly. Say it boldly. We are scientifically highly literate. That's what I'm talking about. Going forward, moving into the next, we're still on the glossary. We're maybe close to halfway through. We are up to the L's, lysosomes. Lysosomes are membrane-bound organelles found in many animal cells and most plant cells. They are spherical vesicles that contain hydrolytic enzymes that can break down many kinds of biomolecules. The lumen's acidic pH, 4.5 to 5, is optimal for the enzymes involved in hydrolysis, analogous to the activity of the stomach. The lysosome is involved in various cell processes, including secretion, plasma membrane repair, cell signaling, and energy metabolism. Lysosomes digest materials taken into the cell and recycle intracellular materials. Material from outside the cell is taken up through endocytosis, while material from inside the cell is digested through autophagy. Lysosomes are known to contain more than 60 different enzymes and have more than 50 membrane proteins. In the film Suicide, the movie, which I need to remind myself, pull that out. Let me see, do I have a pen and paper here? Make note to self, pull out Chewicide. Where's an ink pen when you need it? I'll think of it. Let me just make a note to myself and put it on the desk. And that note, why is that note there in that place? Well, it's because I was trying to remind myself to pull out the film Chewicide. But in Chewicide, we talked about people will attend more to their luxury car than they will to their body. But the complexity of the highest expense luxury car is less complex than the pinky tip on my left little finger. The complexity of subcellular structure. So just looking at one of these numerous membrane-bound organelles inside of each cell, and our body has 50 trillion cells and manufactures 3.81 million new cells per second. What's going on inside the human body is such a miracle. It's almost impossible to comprehend and describe, which is why we need a language capable of taking us there. But the structure of lysosomes, more than 60 different enzymes, and more than 50 different membrane proteins. Enzymes are molecular structures. This is amazing, amazing, amazing what takes place inside the body. Those are lysosomes. Next, metabolic derangements. Metabolic derangements are abnormal changes in metabolic processes leading to imbalances in energy production, nutrient utilization, and waste elimination, often resulting in disease. This is where your metabolic diseases come from, everybody. From dysregulated lipid metabolism or dysregulated metabolic function. Metabolic derangements. This is where disease comes from. All of them. This is where diseases come from. All of them. Did you arrive at this eureka moment with me just now? I've read this before. It wouldn't have been in this list had I not been reading around this topic for some time. Metabolism. Metabolic metabolism is the next word. Metabolism is the set of chemical reactions in organisms that maintain life, including nutrient breakdown, energy production, and synthesis of cellular components. Metabolism is everything. You want to be healthy. You don't want to be overweight. You want to be forever young. You want your skin to be young and fresh and beautiful. Understand and take control over your metabolism. Metabolites. Metabolites are intermediate or end products of metabolic processes, including organic acids, sugars, and amino acids, which play crucial roles in cellular functioning and signaling. Take control of your metabolism and order up the right metabolites to take care of the functions that your body needs to be done on the cellular, tissue, organic, and systemic levels. As you can tell, the kids getting excited over here. I've always been excited about science, and now I'm taking me to whole new levels. I hope I'm bringing as many of you along as possible. Metabolemics. No, that's not right. Metabolomic systematic study of metabolites in biological systems. That's what you and I are engaging in right now, metabolomics. Aiming to identify and quantify small molecules to understand metabolic pathways and cellular processes. That's what you are engaged in right now. Today's program is about metabolomics. Metastases. Metastases are the spread of cancer cells from the primary tumor to other parts of the body, forming secondary tumors and leading to advanced disease stages. Metastases is not your friend. That's when your cancer regulatory system, which we described a little bit earlier. That was one of those somal systems gets underdeveloped and underfunctioning. Mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondrial DNA, mDNA, is the genetic material found in mitochondria responsible for encoding essential proteins for energy production and inheriting maternally. Mitochondrial DNA. Monoclonal antibody. These antibodies are produced from the progeny of a single plasma beta cell, and so ones of the same cell are identical to each other. They are created in the laboratory and are made to be specific to a given antigen. They are increasingly being investigated for the treatment of cancer and other diseases and are used in pregnancy tests. Monoclonal antibodies. Monogenic disorders. Monogenic disorders are genetic diseases caused by mutations in a single gene and often inherited in a Mendelian pattern, leading to specific symptoms and conditions. Natural killer cells, NK cells. These are cells that kill virus-infected cells and cancer cells. NK cells release chemicals called cytokines, which alert and attract other immune cells, a type of lymphocyte. So we had earlier talked about the cytes and somes. In these processes, somes clean up debris, cytes kill. So in this particular talk, they're talking about these natural killer cells, a type of lymphocyte. Neoangiogenesis. Neoangiogenesis is the process of forming new blood vessels from existing ones, crucial for wound healing, tissue repair, and tumor growth. Neoangiogenesis. Next, one of my favorite words, nutraceuticals. These are foods and herbs with proven healing and medicinal benefits, including disease prevention. These can be used as traditional foods or supplements that are food derived. Unlike pharmaceuticals, drugs, as, quote, dietary supplements, quote unquote, nutraceuticals do not require testing and approval by the Food and Drug Administrations. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. Food as medicine is nutraceuticals. We're up to O, oncogenic. Oncogenic refers to factors or processes that can cause or promote the development of cancer, including genes, parasites, and environmental agents that induce cellular transformation and tumor formation. Oncology. This is the branch of medicine that deals with cancer, including diagnosis, therapy, care, and screening. Oncometabolites. Oncometabolites are altered metabolites that accumulate in cancer cells, contributing to tumor growth and progression by affecting cellular signaling and metabolism. And bear with me today. I don't know why I'm having so much interruption, hesitation of the broadcast. Let me just turn off a couple of these engines and free up some memory over here and see if it will broadcast without it stopping so much. And maybe that's a little bit better. Here, I can close just a little bit more of this. And hopefully now it is better. We continue with the glossary. We're up to oncometabolites, oxidative metabolism. Now, let me go back and reread oncometabolites. I want to make sure my brain is continuing on this stream. Oncometabolites are altered metabolites that accumulate in cancer cells, contributing to tumor growth and progression by affecting cellular signaling and metabolism. Next is oxidative metabolism. Oxidative metabolism is the process of generating energy through the oxidation of nutrients, primarily in the mitochondria, producing ATP via the electron transport chain and oxidative phosphorylation. Phosphorylation, I should say. And that oxidative phosphorylation is the normal mechanism by which energy, ATP, is created in the cell's mitochondria. So this is the normative process of energy creation. When you're in the normative process, the cancer mutation does not take place. It is when this becomes dysregulated and we have these altered oncometabolites, that's where cancer comes from. Oxidative phosphorylation. Oxidative phosphorylation is the process in which electrons are transferred through the electron transport chain to produce ATP, occurring primarily in the mitochondria. That is normal energy formation. We're up to P, phagocytosis. This is the engulfing of microorganisms or other cells, cellular debris, lipid encapsulated, or other foreign particles by phagocytes. Phagocytes are white blood cells that consume, destroy, and eliminate unwanted cellular particles and waste. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Phosphofructokinase, PFK. Phosphofructokinase, PFK, is a key regulatory enzyme in glycolysis that catalyzes the conversion of fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-biphosphate, committing glucose to energy production. So phosphofructokinase, an enzyme that commits glucose to energy production. Very important. Positron emission tomography. PET, PET scan. You've heard of PET scan. Positron emission tomography. Positron emission tomography, PET, is a medical imaging technique that uses radioactive tracers to visualize metabolic processes and functional activity in tissues and organs. Proteomic. Proteomics is the large-scale study of proteins, including their structure, function, and interactions, to understand cellular processes and disease mechanisms. Pyruvate. We've used this word quite a few times during the course of this. Pyruvate. Pyruvate is a key metabolite produced during glycolysis, serving as a precursor for energy production in the citric acid cycle and other metabolic pathways. Silibinin, also known as silibumariumum. Silibinin is a flavonolignin isolated from the seeds of milk thistle and has a long history of human use for liver ailment. Widely available as a nutraceutical supplement and now clinically used to manage hepatotoxicity in various countries, including the United States. Silibinin is considered a very promising cancer chemopreventive agent based on completed studies showing its strong efficacy against various epithelial cancers. And we're talking about silibinin, also known as silibumariumum, is a flavonolignin isolated from the seeds of milk thistle. Do you take milk thistle? I do. I use milk thistle as a regular use supplement. It helps to rebuild, restructure the liver. But when I'm in my detox, which I am now, this would be day, I think, 19 of my 28-day spring equinox detoxification. At this phase right now is when I'm using the milk thistle and dandelion root to refreshen the blood and the liver. So you definitely want to take advantage of these things, people. Now that you have a language that you start to understand it, and you're going to want to get the book, because I've been through this glossary numerous times already, just to arrange it, put it in alphabetical order, and get these descriptions. And every time I'm reading it, I'm getting new connections inside my understanding of what this is all about. Somatic mutation theory. Somatic mutation theory. This idea posits that genetic dysfunction and contributing that genetic dysfunction, let me get this right. This idea posits that genetic mutations in the body cells accumulate over time, leading to cellular dysfunction and contributing to the aging process and age-related diseases. Somatic mutation theory. And that one becomes very critical. Once we understand what it is, what it says, what it means, we then ask the question, how do I, and here, this is also very important. Let me do this real quickly. Open it in a new tab. I'll come back to that later. How do I ideally manage somatic mutation theory to prolong healthy lifespan? And list 5 actions. Activities, actions, whatever. So the question, how do I ideally manage this somatic mutation theory to prolong healthy lifespan? Here is the response that came back. To ideally manage the somatic mutation theory to prolong a healthy lifespan, consider the following 5 actions. Now, I'm just reading this for the first time with you. I will almost guarantee you this fits what we have been teaching here on LIB Radio for years. Let's see what. Now, we just came across this somatic mutation theory. Let's see what it says. Number 1, maintain a healthy diet. Ching! Dietary restriction has been shown to prolong life. We're talking about intermittent fasting, caloric restriction. Dietary restriction has been shown to prolong lifespan and result in slowed accumulation of somatic mutations such as HPRT mutants in mice. Point 2, avoid environmental toxins. Cha-ching. Environmental factors can increase the rate of somatic mutations. For example, liver cells, which are involved in detoxification, show a higher mutation burden with age. That's why we're taking our milk thistle and dandelion root. Cha-ching. Number 3, exercise regularly. Hey, even this morning when I woke up 50 minutes after I should have been finished with all my exercises, when I woke up an hour and 20 minutes later than normal, I still says I got it. I can't do all my exercises. I just compressed a shortened regime of just 100 reps instead of 190 reps of my 5 different core internal exercises. So exercise regularly. While not directly mentioned in the context, regular exercise can reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, which are known to increase the rate of somatic mutations. Number 4, manage stress. That was all that breathing exercises I did this morning. Chronic stress can lead to increased oxidative damage and DNA mutations. Reducing stress through mindfulness, meditation, or other relaxation techniques can help mitigate this. And number 5, protect against UV radiation. Sun-exposed skin has a higher mutation burden than other tissues. Protecting skin from UV radiation can reduce the accumulation of somatic mutations. And other than number 5, I do engage and teach all of these. So this is somatic, manage somatic mutations. This is very important. This somehow is going to have to go into the book. These actions reduce the rate of somatic mutations that potentially extend healthy lifespan by protecting against age-related genomic damage. That's genomic damage is chromosome damage. Now we're talking about repairing the telomeres. Oh boy, this is some good stuff. I'm just going to what am I going to do with this? I'm going to save it to my hard drive. And then we're going to go back to, we're almost finished with the glossary. The timing on this one turned out actually to be really quite wonderfully manageable. Save in a Year Against Cancer. And this is entitled, what's it entitled? Somatic Mutations. Somatic Mutation Theory. Management. There. Next, we're up to T's in this glossary. Tricarboxylitic acid, TCA cycle. The tricarboxylitic acid cycle, also known as the Krebs cycle, we talked about the Krebs cycle earlier, is a metabolic pathway that generates energy by oxidizing acetyl-CoA derived from carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. This is crucial. This is a crucial element of mitochondrial function and energy production. That's the Krebs cycle, also known as a tricarboxylic acid cycle, tricarboxylitic acid cycle, TCA cycle, also known as the Krebs cycle. Tumor, an abnormal mass of tissue that occurs because of uncontrolled cell division. Tumors can be benign, not cancerous, or malignant, cancerous, also known as neoplasm. Tumorigenesis. Tumorigenesis is the process by which normal cells transform into cancer cells, involving genetic and epigenetic changes that lead to uncontrolled growth and tumor formation. Up to W's, the Warburg effect. The Warburg effect is the phenomenon where cancer cells preferentially use glycolysis for energy production, even in the presence of oxygen, leading to increased glucose uptake and lactate production. And I will say further, this is named after the Nobel laureate Otto Warburg, because, spell his name right, Warburg, because of his landmark cancer causation research. Very important. Let me reread that. The Warburg effect is the phenomenon where cancer cells preferentially use glycolysis for energy production, even in the presence of oxygen, leading to increased glucose uptake and lactate production. Named after the Nobel laureate Otto Warburg because of his landmark cancer causation research. And the last entry is under X, xenograft models. Xenograft models involve transplanting human tumor cells into immunocompromised animals to study cancer biology, drug efficiency, and disease progression. We're talking about xeno, meaning like xenophobia outside of our group, outside of our bios. Xenograft, meaning they're taking something and transporting into another species. Models. These models become research models. So what do you think? We went through this extensive glossary. That wasn't so bad, was it? Some of them were a little challenging. Some of them, in just reading through them, we expanded our knowledge on them. And I got a bunch of great new understandings about all of this, including somatic mutation theory, which is, again, I could almost write a book. And that would be another book on longevity, healthy lifespan. You've been tuned into LIB Radio, LIBTV, livinginblack.com. If you find this to be useful, can I get anyone out there to help? Can you make a donation? You see this little stream that's been streaming all through the program at the bottom of the screen. Support LIB Radio and the Black Star Media Global Mission. Our Cash App is $KEIDIOBI. And I want to thank you in advance for all the love you've been showing. I want to thank Tunk from Snake Creek, who took the time out to say greetings. Ankh Uja Sinet. I want to thank all of you who stayed with us for the length of this program. This was a very, very important programming, accessing the language of cancer prevention and reversal. Do you want to live your life cancer prevention? Or if you do happen to be one of those 2 out of 4 people, 2 out of 5 people in the U.S. who will be diagnosed with cancer, and the U.S. applies the same data statistics apply to virtually all of the OECD developed nations. But it's higher in the United States, because the United States, I don't cuss. The United States is all messed up. Spend more money on medical research and development than all the other OECD nations. In fact, if you take the top 12 spending OECD nations on healthcare for per capita in their countries, if you add the next 11 after the United States and average them out, the United States spends twice as much as them. But when you're ranking the 38 nations of the OECD, the United States spends twice as much as the next 11 top spenders averaged out, but we rank 37 out of 38 insofar as patient satisfaction. 37 out of 38. Dang, that's messed up. But do the people know this? I suggest that people are far more distracted by many mundane issues. But when cancer hits you, your loved one, your spouses, your parents, when cancer hits your children, we find out just how mediocre and mundane all those other things that have grasped for our attention become. We can do better than this, people. We are essentially spiritual people. We don't have to be distracted by this background noise taking place all around us. I do see you, Tunk from Snake Creek, said very useful information. Got to get that glossary. And the book is nearly complete. I'm doing the best I can to complete this book in the next 10 days. The date this book is scheduled to go to the printer is on or before the 18th of April. That would fit inside of this series of books from January 18 forward. That would include the African future, the stem cell revolution, quantum advancement, standard omission, and it would also include a year against cancer. There will be 5 books within the 90-day period from January 18, which was when the class write and publish your book in 90 days first started. One more person is hanging with the class, and he says he's going to get his book done and off to the printer by January 18. That's what he says. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I've done this so many times. I know where his book is, and he will really, if he just did nothing else but write on this book, he could meet that deadline. Or if he makes the book short, and that might just happen as well. But Tongue from Snake Creek, at or about the 18th, you will be able to get your hand on this book. And the book is not just got this awesome glossary, but the whole book is awesome. And you do want to get this book. Let me just real quickly, I'm going to take you through, let me just save real quick, and I'm going to take you through the table of contents. Find table of contents. And here's the table of contents for the book. It begins with the glossary, then the first chapter. Here are the chapter titles. I'm not going to give you the sub-chapter titles, just chapter titles. Chapter 1, the cancer paradox. Chapter 2, cancer and world history. Chapter 3, America's cancer problem. Chapter 4, a vast spectrum of environmental stressors. Chapter 5, pharmaceuticals exposed as a carcinogenic risk. Chapter 6, what causes cancer? Chapter 7, nutrition and cancer risk reduction. Chapter 8, cancer on a subcellular basis. Chapter 9, the 12 most common cancers in the U.S. today. Chapter 10, genetic mutations and childhood cancers. That was yesterday's broadcast. That was very important. Chapter 11, problems with standard cancer therapies. Chapter 12, new frontiers in cancer treatment. Chapter 13, prevention first. Chapter 14, the cancer intracellular parasite connection. Chapter 15, cancer and nutrition. Chapter 16, living superfood solutions. Chapter 17, herbal solutions. Chapter 18, cannabinoid and cancer research. Chapter 19, natural extracts against cancer. Chapter 20, lifestyle solutions. Chapter 21, the anti-cancer mentality. And then we have Appendix 1, the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm, and Appendix 2, cancer quotes. So that's the book so far. Boy, I got a lot of writing to do. I can knock out 1 to 2 chapters a day, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to hit my target on this. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to do that. This book, I've been writing on this book. I started to write this book in 2015, I think it was. And I'm finally pushing it to, I finally pushed it to the forefront. This was not an easy book. It is not an easy book. Trust me. It's a lot of research. You saw how tough the glossary was, and that was before even getting into the book. So that's who we are. That's what we do. A year against cancer, combating society's most frightening diagnosis. It need not be so frightening. If we understand what it means in just dealing with aberrant cells, which our body does every day, all day long, now we just ramp it up so that this phagocytic process is ramped up to the highest level, highest degree. So on that note, we are going to wrap it up for today. I hope you have found this to be useful. If you do so, can I get you to buy a book? Get into the catalog. Start to reading. What we've been reading from today is book number 59 on this long process. We've come a long way together. We've got so much further to go. You can access my books at Keidi, K-E-I-D-I-O-B-I No, that's my email address. kdob@yahoo.com, or just text me and I'll let you know what you need to know about your health. Text me, don't call, text 702 580 0662. Once again, 702 580 0662. You've been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LAB Radio, LAB TV. We are to tell their friends that we have our own now. And we're very, very proud of what we've done. Very proud of who we are. And very proud of who we hang out with on a regular basis. On your favorite LIBTV, Unlimited in Black.com. Be sure